what I do best is I breathe. I breathe when the times get scared and I feel lonely. I breathe through that. When I'm so excited you can't keep my feet on the ground, I breathe. Light, easy, joyful breaths without even being aware of it. I breathe. It's a gift that I've been given. It is my divine birthright to breathe. To breathe in consciously takes a little bit of practice. To understand how the breath makes a difference takes a little bit of practice. To recognize that it is the very breath of God that I breathe takes a little bit of practice. And yet, we do it easily. And I can tell you, one of the keys that I've learned is when I am upset, worried, scared, and afraid, it's almost as if I forget to breathe. Have you noticed when you're upset that the breath can only go this far, or maybe it only goes this far? You're hyperventilating because there's a block in the energy system. So I'm going to invite you to take a deep breath and notice where your breath ends. Can you push it down all the way to the root chakra? Or does it get stuck somewhere else? Become conscious of that. The journey of the prodigal son, daughter, of the prodigal. It's the wayward one. I was supposed to look it up, but I forgot. The prodigal. The prodigal is that part of us that discounts our birthright, who forgets that we are born of God. Jesus told the parable of the prodigal. Go back 2,000 years, and to understand part of that prodigalness is that as the second born, I think I don't have the birthright. I don't have the blessing of God. God, my Father, didn't lay its hand on me and say, you're my beloved, and you will inherit everything I have. But as second born in the culture of Jews in 2,000 years ago, I didn't think I had a birthright. I didn't have any acknowledgement of God consciousness or that I would be inheriting anything. And so I go to my Father. I'm upset. I'm worried, scared, and afraid that I'm not going to get anything part of this kingdom. And so I go to my Father and I say, give me what's mine. Later editions said that the Father divided, and we think that he divided in half. He could have just divided a portion. He could have just said, here's today's daily bread, and off you go. But the prodigal, the one who separates itself, goes off in a far off land and goes off and finds itself in the pig pen. Jews do not eat pork because they think it's unclean. So you can imagine what a good Jewish boy was doing in a pig pen, feeding the garbage to the pigs. It's pretty disgusting for most of us. And the story goes that he would have loved to have eaten what the pigs were eating, but he didn't even have that. And he has an awakening. in that moment that even the servants in my Father's house are treated better than this. Wakes up to himself and saying, in my Father's house, in my Father's kingdom, in my Father's consciousness, in God consciousness, everyone is doing better than me. So I'm going to wake up enough to say, okay, what can I do now? Well, I can go to my Father and say, forgive me for throwing away my birthright. Because in relationship to the source, in relationship to God, everyone is doing better than I am. What a forgiveness moment. That I realize that of my own efforts, I've ended up in a pig pen. And you know what pigs are like. Get graphic. It's muddy. It's nasty. It's human waste. It's pig waste. It's the worst place you've ever been in. And yet in that moment, the prodigal has a thought. The Course in Miracles says the kingdom of God is only a thought away. Heaven is only a thought away. And in that thought, transformation happens. I'll go to my Father and I'll say, forgive me for thinking, for throwing away my birthright. My birthright, that which is mine by right of consciousness. I'm going to take a step toward God. And I will be guided. One of my favorite stories of all times is about a little boy who is wanting to go out to the barn because he heard that the cow had given birth to the new calf. And there's a lantern by the back door. And the father who's in the barn says, come on, come see me, come find. And the little boy's scared of the dark. And he says, I can't. And he says, well, the father says, pick up the lantern and come to the barn. He picks up the lantern and he goes, well, I can't see from this point all the way to the barn. And the father says, walk to the edge of the light and more will be revealed. So I pick up my light and I'm going to walk to the edge of the light. Guess what? The light goes with me. I know which way to go. I'm being guided. I'm being directed. I move away from that which no longer serves me. I let go and I end up in the barn, in the moment. Because I've picked up my light that God thought, walk to the edge of the light and more is revealed. Oh my gosh. The journey of the prodigal is one step at a time, one thought of a time, one breath. Breathe in. Breathe out. One moment. The journey of 1,000 steps begins with beginning. It begins with willingness to step out of our pig pen moment and have a different experience. The prodigal's journey. When I first gave this talk over 20 years ago, I wanted to celebrate Columbus's discovery, because that's what happens in October. We have this time of that we celebrate Columbus discovering America. Well, guess what? America was already discovered. But 20 years ago, we didn't have that consciousness of understanding that as Native Americans, they're going, hey, we don't need you Europeans. Thank you very much. They didn't even recognize what the boat was when they saw it on the distance in the ocean. They had no concept of what this wooden sailing ship would be. They didn't think ship. They must have thought something else, but they didn't think ship. But the first time I gave this talk was the talk of the hero's journey. The hero, in this case being Columbus, Columbus had this bright idea that the world was round and he could get to the east by going west. No, he could go to the west by going east. That's right. Right? Europe? America? See, it's all about thought. Okay, so he had to step out and he was going to conquer the unknown lands and bring home the bounty to his benefactors. Okay, how's that working for you? A hero's journey. It's not. Because when we have the idea that we're going to conquer everybody and take what they have and bring it back home, what a hero. The hero's journey is an ego journey that we're going to have to fight for what is ours. Take it by force. But we're going to, we slay the dragon, we conquer the experience and bring it back home to our people who are like me. The heroine's journey in literature is about gentleness. It's a story of a woman who goes out because of the love of her family, her son, her father, her husband, her daughter, I don't know, goes out on this quest to find a hair of the beast because it's needed to heal the beloved. So she goes out to find the hair of the beast. And she has to go and learns that it's not by conquering, it's not by taking that which is not mine, it's by compassion that I get close enough to the beast to pick up a hair. It's a gentle journey. It's a journey of love. It's a journey of acceptance. It's a journey of patience. I spent a long time celebrating this journey of acceptance and patience. And now I've come to understand that there's so much more going on here. So, some of you received a piece of paper that has a square on the top, a triangle, and a spiral. And I'm sure there's some more. If you need one, you can hold up your hand and Kathy can make that happen for you. The square at the top is a consciousness of a demonstration of a place that goes from incompetence into conscious competence. It's a journey from this top left-hand corner that starts with incompetent. That's what that is. That's where I start. I don't know. And then I become aware I don't know it. So I've moved from being incompetent and unconscious down here to the next box. And in that incompetence, I become conscious that I don't know. That journey is a thought. Let me tell you how often in the last 3 years I have learned that I don't know what anything is for. I do not understand a whole lot of what I've been doing, but I've been doing it. But the part to take me from incompetent to competent, oh my gosh, I have to get through my resistance. To move from conscious incompetence up here, I'm going to take a journey that's through this box to the bottom left to the upper right. That's my journey from conscious incompetence up to conscious competence. Most of us do that as we grow up. We learn what we don't know and we set out to learn it. It's a process. It's a journey. It's a willingness to move from what I don't know into what I do know. From being the victim of the world I see to becoming victorious. I know what I know. I start using affirmations. I learn the conscious willingness to go forward. And I take steps along the way to conscious competence. And I become a willing component into a land, a story, an experience of competency. I become victor. It's my learning curve. It's my growth experience. But I can't stop there. To see with the eyes of the heart is to move from the head to the heart. And that's when I drop from conscious competence to unconsciously competent. I can do it with my eyes closed. I can do it with my heart open. I can do it without thought under every circumstance. That's the journey of the prodigal. The prodigal gets to experience life and say, help thou my unbelief. I'm here to be truly helpful. I'm here to be willing to be what you would have me do. What would you have me say? Where would you have me go? I will be content knowing that you go there with me. Consciously competent moves into unconsciously competent. And in every situation, the Christ shows up. The Godness of us show up. So what does it take? Oh my goodness, let me tell you, it talks about getting our Maslow's hierarchy of needs filled. It takes this consciousness of spiral dynamics that we come back to the same thing we have left and have to do it again at a higher, deeper way. Oh my God. But what it really takes. What it really takes. It takes courage. It takes willingness to know what you don't want and to choose what you do. To know that I don't know what I don't know. And to stop resisting what I don't know. I've been a transitional process for a very long time. I know I am tired of moving. So I got in the furniture business. Not a good plan. I have moved more stuff. I used to have a 10 by 30 storage room. It's down to maybe a 10 by 10, maybe. Pretty densely packed. I've been selling stuff off. The journey is to become a conscious vehicle for God to show up. It takes willingness to do the work. It takes a willingness to move from the end to a new beginning. And you guys as a community are on the verge. Oh my God. You can see the promised land. You can see the spiritual leader. You know who you know and you know what you want and you're almost there. And stuff is going to show up. Stuff like you don't believe. Pigpen stuff. You know why? Because you don't know what you don't know. And some of you are holding those energies that have to be resolved and released and have courage to go forward. And some of you can see the promised land. You're just like, you're already there. You know it. You're experiencing it. You're breathing into it. And you're going to breathe for the rest of them. Because there's some of us that are holding our breath. Conscious competence. Unconscious competence. Celebrating the light and love of God in this moment. Breathing into it. Breathing through it. I got more to talk about. I'll just have to come back.
You have been watching the message from our Sunday celebration service here at Unity on Cape Cod, providing a positive path for spiritual living. Please join us every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. at 147 Walton Ave, Hyannis, Mass. And visit us online at www.unityoncapecod.org.